who knew someone who died in a freak accident, what happened? I met Dan the year after my divorce, when I finally got my finances in order and realized I needed to think about life insurance again. He ran a small independent office out of a strip mall next to a dry cleaner and a vape shop. Nothing fancy, just his name on the door and an old wooden desk with a coffee pot that looked like it had been running non-stop since 1998. Dan was in his early 50s, friendly in that Midwestern, no BS kind of way. Not a salesman type, just calm, thoughtful, good at listening. He never pushed products or tried to upsell. He'd ask about your kids, your job, your health, and then explain in plain English what the numbers meant. I liked him right away. The thing that stuck with me about Dan was how often he'd bring up freak accidents. Not in a fear-mongering way, but just as a reminder. He used to say, "It's not the illness you see coming that ruins a family. It's the ladder that slips or the tire that bursts on the highway." He had a whole library of stories, stuff that had happened to people in town. A guy who tripped on a dock and hit his head, a woman who choked on a piece of steak at a company dinner, a teenage boy who died when the mower he was riding rolled on top of him. He wasn't being dramatic, just honest. These things happened, and his job was to prepare people for when they did. I'd see Dan maybe once a year, whenever I needed to adjust coverage or check on paperwork. He always remembered my daughter's name, always asked about my mom. He wore the same Carhartt jacket and ball cap no matter the season, said he hated ties. I believed him. Then last spring, I got a call from his office. Not the usual front desk woman. This time it was his daughter, Jess, who had taken on part-time admin duties as he got older. Her voice cracked when she told me. Dan had died in an accident. She sounded dazed, like she couldn't quite believe it. He'd been helping a neighbor with a tree limb that had cracked during a windstorm. Big limb, maybe 15 feet long, heavy. They'd tied one end of a chain to the limb, then looped a rope to the hitch on his pickup. His wife was in the cab, driving forward slowly, trying to pull it free from the trunk while Dan stood behind the truck watching it shift. The rope snapped first. Too much strain, not enough give. That sent the chain flying. It whipped back like a slingshot and hit him square in the head. He was dead before he hit the ground. Neighbors heard the snap and came running. His wife had screamed so loud one woman 3 doors down thought there'd been a car crash. Paramedics arrived in minutes, but there was nothing to be done. Closed casket funeral, blunt force trauma, 54 years old. I didn't go to the service. I couldn't. I kept thinking about how many times Dan had described that kind of accident in his little office. How he'd wave his hand like, all it takes is one thing going wrong, and that's it. He'd warned people about this exact situation more than once. Yard work gone wrong, ropes under tension, chains snapping back. And then that's exactly how he went. There was something gutting about the irony. Not funny ironic, just bitter. Like a doctor choking on a pill or a seatbelt manufacturer dying in a crash. I think that's part of why it shook everyone so much. Not just that it happened, but that it happened to him. I stopped by his office a few weeks later to sign a few things. Jess was still there trying to hold it together. She told me the business would probably shut down by the end of the year. No one else really knew the clients, and she didn't have the licenses to take over. There was a photo of him on the desk. It looked like it had been taken outside in someone's backyard. He was holding a burger in one hand and laughing mid-chew. The picture was crooked in the frame. I signed the paperwork and thanked her. Before I left, I told her what he'd said to me once during my first appointment. You never know how close you are to the moment that changes everything. That's why you get insurance. Not because you expect to die, because you want the people you love to survive it when you do. Jess nodded but didn't say anything, just wiped at her face and looked down at the desk. I left quietly. I still have the policy he sold me, haven't changed it. I probably will eventually, but for now I kind of like that his name's still on it. Feels like he's still looking out for me in some small way.